I hope you've had a good recovery from the trials and we've got some good feedback regarding your results, and I hope that you're putting those into practice so that you can make a quick response to your areas of improvement so that you can get the best marks possible for the HSC. What I'm going to be going through today is some feedback for Section 3 in the HSC trials for Studies of Religion 1 unit, in particular any response that had to do with Judaism. Ms. Hazarati marked the Christianity part of this Section 3, I marked the Judaism part of this Section 3. So let's begin. If you don't remember, this was the question, and so the stimulus was, "And the Lord commanded to us to perform all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God for our good all the days, to keep us alive as of this day." And that was from Deuteronomy. And the question being, with reference to the quotation, how do at least two components covered in the Judaism depth study enable Jews to experience an integrated belief system? So before we move any further along, I would like to show you the same question and stimulus, but color-coded, because the next slide that you're going to see is the marking criteria, specifically the A range, and the color coordination will be matching what you see on the screen here. And so with the stimulus we have in purple and directly in the question with reference to the quotation is there. Because the question states that you need to use a quotation in your response, and that doesn't mean the whole thing, it means that you need to find parts of it and integrate that into your response. Next part, how to at least, and then two components cover the Judaism depth study. That will be highlighted blue in the marking criteria, but that really makes it clear that you need to talk about at least two components, that being Moses Maimonides, environmental ethics, and or synagogue services. And lastly, enable Jews to experience an integrated belief system. And this is the part that threw a lot of students. What does it mean by integrated belief system? And we're going to learn about that later. But in short, one way that some students did do well interpreted this, and from the pilot marking day where 40 teachers got together and talked about this, was integrated belief system is all about relationships. So within Judaism, and looking at the components you're talking about, what beliefs are understood and practiced or taught within those components, and how are they in relationship with others within the lives of Jewish people. So if we look at the A range marking criteria, we see that there's 4 dot points that need to be addressed. And straightforward as it can seem, a student needs to be addressing all of these clearly and unequivocally to get in the A range. And so let's get straight into it. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be breaking down each dot point just to show you what was expected. So we look at the first dot point, provides detailed, relevant and accurate information about how Jews experience an integrated belief system. For this dot point, detailed, relevant and accurate information is key. Some students provide accurate information, yep. Some provided relevant information, but they didn't provide detailed. Their paragraphs were too short, or they only had one main point that really kind of hit the mark and the rest wasn't that actually detailed or relevant. For this dot point, integrated belief system can be understood as how beliefs are in relationship with each other. So information that you wrote down in your response, it needed to link directly to how Jews experience an integrated belief system. And on top of that, your information needed to clearly show how Jews experience an integrated belief system. The issue I found with a lot of responses was that they would infer that what they were talking about resulted in or allowed Jews to experience an integrated belief system without actually making it clear. And the reality is, if you're just inferring, you're not going to get above a C range. And that's an issue. So the next part of the marking criteria demonstrates a comprehensive understanding of the contribution to the lives of adherents of at least two components: a significant person / school of thought and or ethical teaching and or a significant practice. So straight off the bat, at least two components need to be covered. And for us in Studies of Religion 1 unit, the components could have been Moses Maimonides and or environmental ethics and or synagogue services. Apologies for the typo. And also, the key thing here for the A range was comprehensive understanding. A lot of students had a simple understanding, but they didn't have a comprehensive. Comprehensive means detailed, many elements combining, which makes perfect sense when we talk about an integrated belief system. You have many elements in relationship with each other. So for this essay, for this question, a comprehensive understanding can be understood as incorporating a range of beliefs from at least two components and making it abundantly clear how they are in relationship with each other to ultimately contribute to Jewish people experiencing an integrated belief system. Even if you did the first part here, it's still great. You might get in a B range, but if you don't go to the next part and show in an abundantly clear way how they're in relationship with each other to ultimately contribute to Jewish people experiencing an integrated belief system, you cannot get into the A range. And this is a big fall point for a lot of students. This dot point of the criteria being integrates the quotation effectively to link adherents' experience of Judaism as an integrated belief system to at least two depth study components. So the key word here is integrated. The quotation needed to be integrated into the response. The quotation didn't need to be taken as it was and just put into a sentence or as one sentence. That was a big downfall for a lot of students. Another one was that the quotation should not be put into your response to simply satisfy the criteria. I read a few responses and I was waiting for the quotation to be integrated, and then the last paragraph, that last sentence, they've just chucked the quote in there. Because I think that some students have written and not realised and remembered at the end and just sort of chucked it in there. And it's great that you're putting it in there, but you need to be more sophisticated and integrate it. Because as you see this last top one here, your quote should be integrated into your writing to support your response in showing how Jews experience an integrated belief system. And only a small handful of students do that really well, and as a result, they got the results of their essay in the A range. And lastly, we have uses relevant and accurate terminology in a cohesive and well-structured response. Now, this isn't highlighted because there's no specific part of the question that had this outlined, but in any SOR essay, this is expected. So it is crucial that you know the correct terminology for the components you cover in this response. Whether it is Moses Maimonides and/or environmental ethics and/or synagogue services, you need to know the correct terms for each text, belief, practice, etc. If you do not know and/or use the right terminology in a relevant way in your response, you will not get into the A range, and that's straightforward, that's non-negotiable. The A range students are the ones who know what they're talking about and they use the right terminology in an accurate way and relevant way. So before we finish up, I just think this is really good to summarize is some major pitfalls that a lot of students got caught up in and would probably be a good reason for them to look at this, and when they look at their mark and feedback and comments, that might make a bit of sense. A major pitfall for a lot of students was firstly not engaging with the question in your response. I read a number of essays and I got to the end and realized the student hadn't even addressed the question. For the HSC guys, you need to be addressing the question. You need to engage with the question. That is the whole point of the essay. And what I usually found with these same essays that didn't engage with the question, excuse me, is that they were providing a knowledge dump of everything they knew about two components of the Judaism depth study. What I mean by that is that some responses chose synagogue services and Moses Maimonides and spent 2 paragraphs on each one just talking about everything they know without referring to the question at all. And as a result, that makes that whole response irrelevant and also very descriptive. Okay, that leads to our third point. Simply describing beliefs without making the clear link to how that allows Jewish adherents to experience an integrated belief system is an issue, and again, won't get you above a C. And lastly, this is a real pet peeve of mine, simply adding, quote, therefore making an integrated belief system evident in an attempt to show the link without actually showing how that's evident. Guys, if you use the word evident, you need to be showing evidence. Straightforward as that. Now, before we move on and get ready for the HSC, I think it's really important that irregardless of the marks you have received for this section and for your whole exam for SOR, the whole point of a trials is the fact that what it's called. It's a trial. This is not the be all and end all, and this is the greatest moment for you to recognize areas of improvement and really consider what you can do to change that. I think your first port of call is looking at feedback, seriously looking at feedback, identifying where you need to improve, and then approaching your first port of call, which is your classroom teacher. My second bit of advice is, if you haven't been writing a lot, your own writing, HSC past papers, I recommend you start doing that now. And I guarantee if you start doing that and getting feedback and marks from your teachers, then you'll see some really positive results. Anyway, chin up, guys. You've got plenty of time to make up any improvement, and just remember to always focus on what you're doing well at the same time. You'll get a Google Doc that has a comprehensive feedback form from all teachers that mark the different sections. This video will be on there, but also I've attached some PDFs of some student samples, A-range samples that will be helpful for you to read, just to see how they've used language examples and the language of the question to really show how they're answering the question well. I hope this has been helpful, and as always, if you have any queries about my feedback or comments or even just this presentation, don't hesitate to come see me at school. Alright, thanks.